Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Woman's Splain. Today we have a very special guest, Anna Lander. She's CEO and founder of Pikora, an exciting new bone broth company. We're here to hear about her story and her company. I'd love to just pass it over to her for a little intro.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. It feels like a full circle of me being here with you too. I'm Anna. I'm the founder and CEO of Pikora. It's a food innovation company that makes powdered bone broth. So it won't end only in bone broth. Hopefully, we'll do more exciting stuff along the line.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Let's start with your career journey. Where did you start your career in?
Yeah. So my first job out of college was at Marriott, and I got really focused in hospitality. And then after that, I moved to an ad agency to work on the Marriott account on the agency side. And it was really interesting because everything was hospitality and food and beverage focused. So that was my bread and butter. I love food. I love hosting. I love people. So it felt like the perfect match. And then I started Pikora when I moved to LA. I was working at Condé Nast at the time, and I got very, very sick, like the nastiest flu. And I asked my husband to go to the grocery and get me some bone broth. I was truly craving my mom's chicken soup, and he literally brought the entire aisle. I was like, this is not good. Everything was like not great in taste, super high sodium, just not great. But I survived after a week of drinking and eating soup, and I connected with my roots. And I'm like, I grew up drinking and eating soup, and that's like the backbone of Latin American cuisine. We cook everything with stock and with broth. How come we don't have something that I can drink and enjoy and that it's flavorful and healthier? So that's when I was started to, reconnect with my roots and decided to start making my own bone broth. And then quickly realized that it was so time consuming because you cannot spend 20 hours plus cooking, simmering soup at home and working 10 plus hours. Plus, my team was in New York. I was in LA. The hours were brutal. I was working East Coast hours. So I would start at 5 a.m. The entire house smelled of soup. It was a time, but yeah, that's where the seed was planted.
Awesome. And were you cooking bone broth just for yourself, or you thought you were going to start this company?
So that it was a funny accident. It started, just cooking at home. I would go to my butcher, ask him for some bones. We have the most gorgeous farmers market, so I would get the best veggies, and just started to feel really in my element of cooking bone broth. I felt very like nurtured. And then I told my husband Tomas, I was like, I think that this is an idea, but it seems so complex. It's liquid, it's scale. Like I wasn't planning to sell this at a farmer's market. Coincidentally, a cousin of ours is a food scientist, and he was visiting LA for Expo West, which I had no idea what was that. And I told him, like, listen, what if I do a bone broth company, but, have like a Latin angle and make it like more vibrant? Because if you look at the bone broth aisle, it's kind of dormant and like just dull.
Yeah, it's very bland.
Very much. Everything looks the same, everything tastes the same. What if we refresh this category? But I don't know, it feels so daunting, is the liquid part of it. And he was like, have you heard of freeze drying? And I'm like, no, what's that? And he's like, listen, send me a frozen batch. I'll play with it in the lab, and then let's see what happens. He shipped back a week later this bulky powder that when I mixed with hot water, it was like if I just cooked this bone broth. Wow. And then I saw my husband and I was like, I think this is something. So by then I was working full time still. And it became like a side project, weeknights, weekend project. I literally invited my friends to do like blind tastings to see if this was even a good idea. Like, would you buy bone broth? Would you make it part of your daily ritual? Because in Latin America, we have that habit. But here in the States, some people do, but only like the super health conscious, not like your regular Joe. And we saw an opportunity. And I started to work with I hired a food lab, started working with food scientists for like 9 months. And then on like around 6 months later, maybe, I got the dreaded email from HR. And they were like, we are laying you off, you and your entire team. So everybody was impacted. And I was like, oh man, okay, I guess I'm unemployed. And then my husband sat me down and he's like, listen, take a moment to grieve, but don't get another job. Like, you've been climbing the corporate ladder for 10 plus years. You've done this. I think you have something really special. I think you should go and do it. So I grabbed my very generous severance package and, you know, my entire savings down the drain. And I was like, okay, if I have your support, I think let's do it. And 9 months later, because of course delays, we launched Pikora. We launched Pikora in January of this year.
Wow.
So it's been, yesterday marked my 9th-month anniversary.
Congrats. Blessing
Thank
in
you.
disguise.
It's a baby.
Yeah.
It's a newborn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love that.
Well, obviously, incredible story. Love having the catalyst of being laid off to kind of continue it and really launch it. But want to go back to also your roots, I feel like have really inspired this. Your mom inspired it. I feel like we've also seen, obviously, a general theme in food innovation where American grocery stores are just lacking in terms of like health options. So love to hear more about what you were craving and sort of like why Pikora really fills that and for you.
Yeah. So my mom was an excellent cook, and I grew up in her kitchen. She was the scrappiest of cooks. So obviously, no bones, no veggies were going to waste. She made, you know, beautiful meals, and basically, food was the center of like my childhood. And I grew up loving food and just going, you know, out to eat. That's like my best thing to do over the weekends. So naturally, something with food felt like the natural path for me. As an immigrant, you are craving home all the time. It doesn't feel like home until like years later. And still, I've been in the United States for 10 years now, I think even more. And I'm still like, home is Venezuela. So, you know, Latins are like the biggest growing demographic here in the United States. We see stories like Siete getting acquired by Pepsi. So feeling like bringing a new item that is Latin and that it connects with such a homey sense and sensation, I felt that was the proper way to go about this. So it was like, I want to communicate nostalgia with like a happy feeling. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one craving this. And I do come from very traditional backgrounds. You know, Latin Americans, we are centered in family and slowness. But now I live in the States. I became an American citizen in 2022. So I am part of this like insanely fast-paced life. I am part of this society. So how can I combine the traditional Latin American lifestyle, the cultural values that we have, and how can I adapt them to this fast-paced American lifestyle that we don't have time for anything? So that's why like I was like, this needs to be something seamless and fast, because I think that most times we neglect our health because we don't have the time. We're like, oh yeah, I went to McDonald's or I grabbed whatever piece of crap because I didn't have time to cook or I didn't have the patience and I didn't want to cannibalize that. I wanted to be healthy because obviously I want to live forever, and I want people feel good and healthy in their bodies. But also, how can we transmit this like sort of like slowness and comfort? So I think that was the root of everything. How can we transmit the sense of family and slowness and flavor, and adapt it to like a more fast-paced and to fit the American lifestyle?
I think you can even see that in like the packaging itself. It's so vibrant and like colorful and fun, but it's also very homey, as you said, and comforting. And I think bone broth is something that right now a lot of people I think are getting more into it, like myself included. I was on TikTok the other day. There was the chocolate cocoa bone broth, and I love bone broth, so I tried it, but most of the people around me were like, "What is that? You can't kind of." It's very different. It's very innovative and different. So I think it's definitely coming back. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of bone broth companies, but they're very dull and bland and very heavy, I think. So I
Oh
think
my
what you're
God.
doing right now is it really combines like the fastness, as you said, and like the fun aspect of bringing it back to your cultural roots.
Yeah, and especially when you look at the labels, they're not great. They're like so heavy in
So
sodium.
dark.
I know it's like it's basically salt water that you're having. Um, the other day we went to Erewhon to just look at the aisle and see what was happening, and I literally grabbed one Tetra Pak, one packet of carton of bone broth, and it had 2 grams of protein. And I'm like, what is even this? Like 900 milligrams of sodium. So I wanted something very straightforward, something that is nutritious, that is light, that it can be a snack or that you can cook with, and something very flavorful that doesn't need insanely amounts of sodium. It has, herbs and spices that you don't necessarily see. And then obviously the cocoa was a complete accident. That dulce is a story of its own. But I was like, how can we introduce spices and herbs that you don't necessarily see? And I think that the powder format is also the best way to have bone broth, something that I did not know. I thought that all bone broths were equal, and not really, especially the ones that are in liquid and that can survive a zombie apocalypse on the shelves. It can last 7 years.
Yeah.
That is ultra processed. In order for it to be in a carton, unrefrigerated, and last 7 years, they need to be cooked at super high temperatures. Then you package them. That's why most of them have this like weird aftertaste because they absorb
Plastic.
the package and the plastic. So the best way to have bone broth that you don't buy at the local farmers market or the one that you don't make at home is something like Pikora, because we literally protect the integrity of the ingredients. We protect the integrity of the protein, of the collagen, so it remains intact. It's freeze-dried. It's actually cold the way that the process works. So that's why I'm like, how come I only have one competitor in Whole Foods and it's not even that great? No shame or shade to my competitors. I don't want them out to come and get me. But it needed to be, we needed to refresh. We needed to bring something bolder, lighter at the same time, and also with attitude and personality. I feel that I'm not only creating a beautiful and delicious product, but also a fun, young, light brand. I feel that we don't see that a ton in the bone broth space.
Yeah. I mean, I personally, when you told me about Pikora, associated bone broth with men. I know that may be, I don't know, odd or
Interesting.
incorrect, but I feel like I always associate bone broth with being like, oh, I'm bulking up, or protein, or like something heavy with that. Even though thinking about it, it is obviously a unisex item that involves collagen, which maybe is considered more female leaning. And so I feel like I've loved how you've redone it. In terms of the powder process, I would love to hear about how you did taste tests, sort of how you process. I mean, this is kind of a crazy thing to kind of go through this very capital labor intensive freeze drying taste testing thing. Would love to hear that process for you.
So the process started in my kitchen, obviously. I first needed to land the recipe. Like how much heat do we want? Because we want a little spice. We're Latin. Or how much, herb and aromatics we want. So I did 3 focus groups with over 40 people, a little mix. And then we were like, okay, this is the recipe. Then we started working with food scientists, and that process lasted 9 months because we did 32 iterations. Everything was minor tweaks that make that would make the biggest difference. This type of salt, this type of yeast extract, this type of ginger, everything was very nuanced. So the back and forth was a little intense because the lab was in Oregon. So they would, ship overnight these powders, and then we would sit down via Zoom and sit down with a food scientist, which is fascinating to me, and go through like a chart. It's called the jar, which is just about right. And it's like, okay, the mouth feel, the color, the smell, the look and feel in once you stir it with water, how the powder reacts with the moisture, like all these things that I did not think about because I'm not a food scientist. I knew what the flavor that I wanted, but I didn't know how to get to it. And that's when I got that number 33rd recipe. I was like, this is it. And it was for the chicken and the beef simultaneously. The cocoa one was a little bit easier to get. I just focused on getting the best cocoa, which, by the way, there's like a global shortage of cocoa, and it was the worst possible timing. More on that later if you want. But it was the chicken and the beef that was really hard to like nail. Especially because we are below 300 milligrams of sodium. How do you create that, super rich liquid without a ton of MSG or salt?
Yeah.
So that's why we played with ancho chile pepper. We played with mushrooms. We played with other types of herbs. And so that was like the moment when we were like, okay, I think that this is our differentiator. That not only our offering is amazing, it's 11 grams of protein, 50 calories, but we're below 300 milligrams of sodium. We included collagen in our recipe, things that you don't normally see in your regular bone broth on your Whole Foods or Target.
And what is like the ideal use of Pikora? Like, should I be having Pikora every day? Is it its own meal? Is it a snack? Is it like a pre-workout situation? Like, well, how should I drink or eat Pikora?
So all of the above.
Okay.
The funny thing is that as founders, we have a little bit of a blind spot because we know what our product is and we have an idea of how it should be used. And when we launched, we discovered that actually people use it very differently. Because I'm a foodie, I obviously cook with bone broth. I make my pastas, sauces, I cook pasta in bone broth, all these like different recipes with bone broth. For example, for moms, apparently with picky eaters, they use it very differently. They use it, in different ways of like maybe getting protein for their kids. Yeah. I personally have different uses for the different flavors. The beef is my favorite on its own. It's very surprising because you associate beef with like heaviness, and it's actually super light. So I love having a snack of like just with water. Whenever I have like a late dinner reservation, like some people are crazy. I have dinner at 6:00. Some of my friends, they're like, oh, we made this dinner reservation at 9. And I'm like, oh, I need to eat before that. So I drink bone broth. But between meals, I love. And also in Latin America, we have it on its own before like lunch and dinner. But you can cook with it. You can sip it on its own. And with dulce, with our cocoa, I treat it as a coffee replacement, especially in the afternoon.
Love that.
And I don't mix it with water. I'm a milk gal, so I love cow's milk. So I mix it with milk, and it's like this decadent hot chocolate in the afternoon when you want a little something, but you don't want coffee because you want to go to bed. And yeah, that's like the perfect. And before bed, like sometimes I don't have much of a sweet tooth, but sometimes after dinner I just want a little treat.
Sweet treat, yeah.
And dulce, it's like the number one thing that comes to mind. With warm milk right after dinner before bed, it's like so soothing. And it's also, we added some cinnamon, some chili pepper, some salt. So it's like very chocolatey decadent. So many case uses.
Yeah.
It's like spicy kind of hot chocolate. I feel like that's a very Latin American.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like,
I got
dessert
inspired a
as
little bit in this super sugary chocolate you drink in Venezuela called toddy. And then the classic Mexican chocolate that it's like even spicy.
Spicier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say that it's not the case uses, it's the when. Like for example, like before I would travel and like, go and have either coffee or like some tea. Now it's like bone broth at the airport. Number one, I go to Starbucks, I ask for hot water, I get me some nuts. That way they can give me the free hot water. And that's my snack for like a flight. Even a pre-workout when I really don't want to have like a big
Like a shake.
meal.
Yeah.
Like pre or post, like I add a spoonful of, or like an entire sachet of dulce to my shakes, and it increases my protein intake. Or like before, I mix it a little bit with coffee. That way, my coffee, it's not like make me jittery right away. If you mix coffee with protein and some fat with the milk, it's actually like a baby snack that will get you going. So yeah.
And it's almost soup season, or it is soup season. 'Cause
Amen.
It's cold.
Amen.
So it's
the
perfect.
minute a degree drops, I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
what?
I know. And
Yeah.
you're like, your colors are kind of like fall vibes. Like
Yeah.
you're giving fall. So we love.
That's
we
my
love.
favorite season, I would have to say.
Yeah,
I,
me too.
I'm not a summer girl at all.
It's too hot.
I don't do well with
Yeah.
heat.
Yeah.
We love a cozy night.
Yeah,
Some broth,
totally.
obviously.
Yeah. No, I remember I was drinking bone broth when I was training for a marathon because I needed to get so much protein, but I don't like protein like powder. It just doesn't feel, clean to me.
Yeah.
So then I was eating just like chicken, and I was like, I can't eat this much chicken all the time. And so I remember I was just getting bone broth, and it was like the perfect amount in just like liquid form. So it wasn't filling me up. And I was, trying different places and the cocoa. And I didn't know Pikora at the time. That was like a
now
few
you
years
do.
ago. But
Are you planning to run again?
probably not. Maybe.
Because if you do, I have a hack. And that's what my husband did, run the LA Marathon last year. Or this year, was it? I don't know. I
It's
don't
earlier
even.
this year.
Yeah, this year. This year has
April.
been the wildest. Basically, what I did for him is at night I would do this like bolognese, like a meat sauce with some marinara. And because I didn't want him to have like so much ground beef because it's heavy, I added some picora. And it would like round the protein. So you get an additional 11 grams of protein. It's lighter and it makes a bomb meat sauce.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's like so great.
I'm sure there's so many other recipes that you can make with.
Go to my
this.
Instagram,
Yeah.
go to our Instagram, and you'll see there's like endless
Yeah.
recipes. And we have a blog on our site, and you can find many inspiration and recipes there. It's
Yeah.
fun.
So fun.
Yeah.
In terms of product development, I know with Dolce, you said it was kind of like by chance, or you weren't really, trying to make a sweet version of it. How do you kind of deal with R&D? Are you always thinking about new flavors, maybe going vegetarian? Like, what are the next steps for Pikora?
So right now, because we're so young still, I think that we need to land the product and like understand our audience and how do they have it, and then just like focus on the 3 SKUs. I think that the beauty is in like the focus. But whenever I think of like, okay, what will be next for Pikora? I think number 1, it's formats. I kind of reversed engineered this because normally people launch with a bulk version, like a big pouch, and then they go with a single serve. I did it reverse because I wanted people to not feel that they needed to make this entire commitment in buying like a huge bag. Just if you want to try one, you can, we sell in 4, but it's a small commitment. So right now I'm thinking of like formatting, like how can we play with the format? And then obviously, I need to come up with something vegan or vegetarian. I think that mushroom will be something really interesting to play with. And also like different collaborations with other brands. Like it would be so nice to have something with like a collaboration with sauce. Imagine like their jars. The other day I did an Instagram reel that did really well. I had like leftovers of the marinara that, that you basically can't cook with it because it's nothing. So I just poured some picora and a little bit of hot water, and it made a very light marinara. So it was lovely. So that's how I think, like, how can we pair picora with other stuff? Eventually, once I get a little bit of that headspace of R&D again, I'll probably come up with other flavors and even other food items.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't need to be bone broth. Whenever people ask me what Pikora is, I say that it's a food innovation company. I feel that I don't want to be limited with just bone broth. Collagen is a thing, creatine, bone broth as like the base of something. Yeah. Snack Shot the other day said something that we're now seeing bone broth in protein bars, in cookies, in all of these formats that are super interesting to play with. So the sky's the limit when it comes to R&D. Besides, it's my favorite part of it all. Mm-hmm. It's so much fun.
That's amazing. And in terms of markets, are you D2C right now? Yes, you're just e-commerce, right?
We're D2C, and thanks to Fair, we're in select groceries across the country. Amazing. Obviously, the goal is to land big at a Whole Foods, at Target. But before getting into big retail, the consumer needs to know who you are. Yeah. Because if not, they're not going to buy, and you're going to get kicked out. Yeah. So in order to, conquer those shelves, we need to at first conquer the brand, and people know, like, oh, I've seen this before. This crazy Venezuelan girl on TikTok keeps coming up. What is she all about? And then conquering. And also, we're self-funded at the moment. Yeah. So whenever you go to retail and grocery big, you do need some bigger investment behind. That will happen. I'm very spoiled. I wanna have Pikora all for myself. So whenever, I know that eventually we will need to raise money, so I need to let go a little bit. But
hopefully it's a great partnership and growth, and it's not letting go.
Of course.
Expanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I also really obviously like the smaller sizes. I think when I think of it and associate of like this type of bone broth, it feels very to me like someone who's traveling a lot would really like it. They can pick it up at the airport and make it for themselves on the go, right? And that's like a way to get protein in. Or somebody who's at the office late can make it, literally with hot water in their Keurig, right? And it feels very associated to that. And I feel like it resonates with that type of consumer, even though obviously it can expand a lot. And obviously it's great that it's shelf stable. I feel like that's pretty unique with this type of product. And there's a lot of good applications in the wellness industry, obviously, younger people, etc. And I guess kids, which I didn't think about too.
Kids love Pikora. It's insane. I'm not a mom, so
I know I wouldn't have thought of it. I mean, it makes a lot of sense though, because kids don't want to eat anything healthy. So
really,
they want to eat soup. So
no, and if you think about it, like they don't want to eat like broccoli and I don't know, but if you sort of like sneak the protein and they don't realize that they're actually having pasta that was cooked with bone broth, or like rice, for example. I cook my rice with Pikora anyway, but I do hear a lot of feedback from moms. And also, I thought of doing something portable, number one, because of the sustainability aspect of it. It's not the same transporting liquid than transporting powder. So sustainability is a big thing for us, but also the pandemic is over. People are out there. People are traveling. People are going back to the office. People are spending more and more time outside of their homes. And I wanted to be as approachable and accessible as possible. Like make it the least amount of resistance so it can be like an easy fix. We have access to water, and many times we have access to hot water. So, the chances that you can get Pikora, it's like super, it's an easy choice. It didn't need to become like a pain, like, oh, I need to plan for this. No, this is like you rip, you open, you pour, that's it. So yeah, that was also the focus.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I guess, would you ever eventually do a liquid form? That would be different. I mean, I'm thinking of like all of the potentials of it being in a sweet green, and you can like pick it up with your salad as an
Or
add-on,
like a shot.
I
yeah,
thought that's the other day we were doing a little bit of like dream planning, and I was like, imagine partnering up with Sweet Green, just because I went to school in DC and I saw the first Sweet Green.
yeah,
So I met Nicholas when he was like just launching this. I was literally making a line into his first store in Georgetown, and I love Sweet Green. And
yeah. Who doesn't? It's great.
to me, salad and soup goes hand in hand. I
Totally.
think it's such a great pairing. Maybe not doing a liquid format that need to be transported. Maybe do like a brick and mortar of some sort, or having us pop up at different like locations of coffee shops or restaurants. I mean, the legendary Brodo, our biggest point of reference, had a little window in New York, and people, instead of getting a cup of coffee, they would get a cup of bone broth. I think that was so innovative at the time. Marco, the chef, one of my idols. I didn't mean to make a competition, but I would love to do something like that. Especially now that we have the cocoa flavor, it expanded and it opened so many doors and opportunities, because not everybody have the habit of drinking bone broth, but most of us have the habit of drinking either matcha or coffee, and cocoa bone broth is adjacent to that, having that sweet thing that it could energize and that could sort of like, make you not crave something else, but that is it, what you're craving. I think it's something to play with, and let's see, maybe liquid format could be in our future.
Yeah. And would you ever like open a restaurant chain? Like I love Springbone and I go there a lot for the broth, but I know a lot of my friends go for the actual meals, and like they use the bone broth to cook the rice and stuff. But you wouldn't expand that way?
So because I worked in hospitality and food are very intertwined. I literally met like amazing chefs because they had restaurants in the hotels that I worked at. I met Francis Malman, I met Daniel Bolud. So having a restaurant is an animal of its own. Having a product in CPG, a whole different thing. So maybe I need to land the CPG product first, and then, the CPG world, and then maybe I can retire in hospitality. I always say, like, I would love to die in Italy in a castello that I would turn into a bed and dinner, not bed and breakfast. People would go, have dinner, and pass out.
Amazing.
And I will grow all of my ingredients in a little, farm right there. That would be the ultimate dream. But it's having a restaurant and having a chain. It's so, if this is intense, I've seen the restaurant life, and that is intense. Yeah. So for now, let's keep it basic, and I'm open to anything. At this point in life, I'm like, who knew that I was going to do this in my 30s? Like, I had no way. If you would have told me that I would be launching a food company in the United States 10 years ago, I would have laughed. I would be like, no, I'm going to be the VP of marketing at some tech company. No, you're going to do something on your own.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I guess on that point, did you always, I guess you didn't really have like an entrepreneurial spirit like when you were growing up, or would you have thought that you were going to start a company at some point?
It was weird because I had it, but I didn't. Pikora is risky, is uncertain, is unstructured. My personal life is the opposite. I crave security. I crave routine, structure, safety. I would say that I had an entrepreneurial spirit because I'm an only child, and when you're an only child, you have many projects in your mind, and you need to
gotta
entertain
yourself. Yeah, you
yourself.
gotta entertain
Exactly.
yourself.
So I was always inventing stuff. I was always creating little worlds. I would play Barbies, and my Barbie had a jet. It had multiple cars. Ken would come and visit, and he would leave. Like Ken was not
Sounds like our
staying.
Barbies.
Yeah, it's our Barbies.
Ken was not staying over. No. I wasn't a trad wife.
Yeah.
I was Miss.
You were Barbie in the Barbie movie.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, you're like, you were Barbie in the Barbie movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that entrepreneurial spirit came from me wanting to invent and create, and then it was funny because my entire career I was part of like the special situations group. Like I always had the weird account, like the difficult client.
Yeah.
I was always working. I did have some crossover with tech. So I was working with beta products, with engineers. And because I love creating and building, I guess that I was always part of this like experiments. It was like, oh, we have a tough client that is thinking of this new campaign in this new emerging market. Oh, let's throw Anna there. She'll figure it out. And I will be like, well, I was literally training people in India at Condé Nast. I was working at 11 p.m. In LA because I was training some people in India, in Chennai.
Yeah.
So I guess that I was an entrepreneur deep down. I just craved my stable paycheck and loved corporate, I guess. I was forced to become an entrepreneur, but I'm not minding it. It's actually a great balance because in my personal life, I'm like, I want routine. I want certainty. Like I'm in no adventurous spirit here. But in my career, I guess that I'm a little bit more adventurous. And that's the number one thing that you need to be when you're an entrepreneur. You need to be an adventurous person. If not, get off that ride because this roller coaster is not for you.
I will say you're also a solo founder, and I think your team is you right now. Yes. Yeah. Which makes a lot of sense. Being an only child, I feel like it all tracks. But what's really we've seen a lot of our people in our community are solo founders. A lot of women are, but the number of men who are solo founders is like 0, which I think is fascinating. And for women, it's like half.
Yeah.
Which I think but would love to hear, what is it like being a solo founder, especially coming from a huge company like Marriott and Condé Nast, where you probably had teams of hundreds.
Yeah.
What has that transition been like? And, I just would love to hear. Hear about that.
So little disclosure, I guess that I'm a solo founder, but I do have a silent co-founder.
Who's your husband?
Who's my husband.
Okay. But I mean, that's our spouses are our founders in life. They're
And
our
just-
co-founders in life,
This guy is your typical, I'm not going to say finance bro because he's the opposite, but this guy is structured. He, went to an Ivy, went to worked at a bank.
Yeah. Did the thing.
He did the thing, and he knows numbers very well. I know data. I don't know P&Ls and forecasting. That wasn't my forte. And I told him, like, I guess like a couple years ago, I was like, I could never work with you. And he got so offended. And then when I was deep in Pikora, I was like, hey, this was before of us getting married. I was like, do you want to have a little stake in my company so you can be my silent CFO? And he's like, yeah, dude, you need help. So I have his support, but this guy has a full-time job of its own. He's been, he works 12-hour days. I guess that as a solo founder comes with everything else because I need to learn everything. I need to learn how to work a P&L, how to do a marketing strategy, how to work with influencers, how to procure ingredients, and how to deal with a co-man. So I say that I'm a chameleon at this point, which also helped because my entire career I was, a chameleon. I would jump from teams and wear different hats. So as a solo founder, I would say that it's a very lonely journey, even though I have a husband that I can shop with. It can get very lonely, especially because you're inventing something that it's like your dream and your baby, and nobody thinks like of your product like that. Nobody is as invested as you. Nobody cares. You're the only one who cares. If something goes wrong, if the packaging is not perfect, you're the only one who's gonna suffer and like lose sleep over it. The other people don't get it. So that's something that it was a hard pill to swallow. But I guess that because I'm an only child, I'm so used to being with my own thoughts all the time and be like, okay, this is me, myself, and I guess. But eventually, my dream is to have a gigantic team. It's like my dream. I would love to be challenged by other, people, brainstorm, have that interaction. I love having the flexibility of working at home, but I love an office. I love teams. So that's why I'm like, okay, Pikora, we need to think about like expanding and in an expansive mindset. Not like this is me, just me, my product, how I like it. No, I need to think about other people, because at the end of the day, my bone broth is all about community. It's not about Anna's favorite things.
And how have you found working with your spouse and partner? Because you kind of see that in some startups these days, like a husband and a wife starting their own company. How do you kind of balance the work-life balance, and what are some of the challenges?
Well, number one, balance is out of the window, like work-life balance out the window. It's funny because a marriage is an enterprise of its own. It's literally a business. You sign prenups, we file taxes together. That's an institution. Launching a business with that person is really interesting because he knows or she knows the most deepest of your inner inner world, and understands your weaknesses, your strengths, and how you can use that to your favor. And having someone to bounce off ideas with, and someone who you actually like and respect, is really nice. Sometimes we don't respect or admire necessarily people that work with us necessarily, or some friends you can share some values but maybe have different visions. But with a partner, I feel that we share a lot of the vision. We want almost the same thing most of the times. And if we don't, it's really interesting, because that's when growth happens. So we've come up with like some systems of how, we can stay in our sort of like personas. Like Anna, the wife, is around this time, and Anna, my CEO, she's around at other times. And sometimes I'm like, hey, remember, I'm your CEO, and he's like, and I'm your CFO, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. And I go back in check. But it's a very interesting dynamic. We've been married for only a year and a half. We've been together for 6, and I love that we are meeting and getting to know each other again. I thought that I knew this guy. I was like, I know everything about him. I actually don't. And he doesn't know everything about me, which is super interesting. Him seeing me in my element at work is very, very fun. Same with him. I'm like, damn, I get this guy. Like, and this is not my husband. This is a different guy. So playing with those two sort of like edges is interesting, and I'm very lucky. I think I found a really great guy who truly gets me, and he was literally hyping me up before coming here. Speak with confidence, you know this, you got this, you don't need anything. And I'm like, thank you. I don't know if I would be here without him. I truly don't.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Bumble. It worked, ladies.
Shout out to Whitney Wolford.
Honestly, yeah, visionary.
I love that.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's amazing. I love that. Well, I am so excited about Pikora. I love you. I love if really your product feels like you. And I don't think that's everything, but it really does feel like you in every way. But you've had obviously an incredible career in life. I'm really excited to see where this goes. But would love to hear, we have so many young listeners, a lot of them in corporate, a lot of them figuring out what they want to do. what would you tell a young person who wants to start their own company, and what advice would you give them?
I would say don't be shy. Network with the people in your industry, and don't gatekeep ideas. Obviously, you don't want to tell your ideas to everyone so people go and make them and do them. But it's amazing because people love to help and people love to give their opinions. So when you open up about your project and your idea and your vision, you get a ton of feedback, free feedback that can actually make your product better, that could make you, find different resources in places that you didn't know it existed. So, get into your category, see who are the thought leaders, see who you can meet around it that it can give you some advice. Don't be shy. People love listening to other people's ideas. And the moment that I was open about creating Pikora was the moment when all of the doors opened, and I got really deep into startup CPG, which is an amazing community. I met so many people in LA that wanted to help, and it was because I opened myself that I found the graphic design agency that did my branding, some mentors that helped me finding the co-packer and finding ways of like going, take this to market. So, have conversations, ask questions. People love to give their opinion. Sometimes you have to edit and you have to select and keep what serves and, leave out what doesn't. But I would say that don't be shy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. You have an
Thank you for
incredible
having
journey.
me.
Where can we find you on social media?
We're everywhere at Hola Pikora, HOLAPIKORA. It's hi in Spanish. Hola Pikora.
I think we know that.
You would laugh. People are like hola, and I'm like
Crazy.
Oh, you're like, come on, guys.
yeah. We're everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, and our site. And my inbox is always open. I read everything. So ask questions, ask away.
Oh, thank you so much, Anna.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. And everyone, thanks so much for listening. Please obviously follow us at Women's Plain Pod and all the socials, and email us if you have any questions, womensplainpod1@gmail.com. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Drink Pikora.
Woo!
Drink Pikora.
Hola, Pikora.